because the next call is from Carlos, who's an atheist in Puerto Rico, pronouns he, him, who wants to clarify why I call myself not just an atheist, but an anti-theist. Carlos, you're on AXP. Did you hear everything that Armin just said?
I think I did. I might have lost something, but I think I got general idea.
So hearing that, do you need me to explain any further why I am an anti-theist and not just an atheist?
First off, good evening, y'all. I hope you're having a great time. I know the calls have been a bit stressful, but I think I didn't. I get really awkward every time I have a chance to call in. So the thing is, what I was trying to explain the telemarketer was that I find myself agreeing more and more with particularly your views, Forrest, and I have to thank you. You've been very instrumental in my deconversion.
Thank you.
And the more I see myself agreeing, I'm like, okay, so how do I get it to a point in which I say, more than just being an agnostic atheist, am I an anti-theist? And so it's just I guess my initial question was going to be something like around the lines of, how did you get to that point of not just saying you're an atheist, but rather an anti-theist? And is it normal that I fear that more than the shame or not the shame, but just the general rejection of atheism and the taboo of atheism, particularly in my country, in Puerto Rico, which is extremely, extremely conservative. Is it normal that I feel like I could feel like even more alienated from general society if I say that I'm an anti-theist? Is that is that like?
Of course, I live in Oklahoma, dude. You want to talk about a conservative religious place? I am on the buckle of the Bible Belt. I get that alienation, but like, you just heard what Armin just said about his life, about a suicide attempt because of this religion, about the way that he had dealt with shame and self-loathing because of this. You just heard the last caller where a dude tried to explain why slavery was acceptable because God wanted it that way. You see the brain rot and the significant emotional and mental damage that is caused by religion. That's why I call myself an anti-theist, because I don't just believe that religion is wrong. I believe that it's harmful. I believe that it is corrosive to society. I believe that it is carcinogenic to civilization. I believe that it is something that destroys the person and also the society that they live in. I think it is an evil, terrible thing that is a vestigial remnant from mankind's early stupid past. And we still have it here just because there are so many people who, like, we talked to another caller talk about hell a little while ago, who are afraid of not believing it. And I realize all religions don't have that same construct, but because we are afraid of the dark, and because we are afraid to die, and because we are afraid of the unknown, and because we don't learn how to negate logical fallacies until a little bit later on in school, we have religion. And if we were to stop teaching it to children, it would be gone in one generation. There's no way that anybody would do this on their own again. There's nobody, no adult would willingly sign up for this unless they were indoctrinated into it. And we pretended as a society that faith is a virtue and that these things are necessary and important parts of our civilization. You see the harm that it does. So yes, I agree with what your question was. Yes, it can make you feel very alienated. It can make you feel very isolated. But if you're asking me, my own personal opinion, I think that it's the only moral way to proceed. That this is something that is so clearly harmful that I don't care if it permeates my society, and I don't care if it makes me an outcast, and I don't care if I'm going to suffer significant social stigma. I am going to continue to speak out against it because it's hurting people. And I care more about people than I do about tradition, culture, family, whatever. Like I care a lot less about that than I do about human lives and well-being. So that's my answer to your question, Carlos.
Right. Can I make a quick follow-up question? I know you guys are.
Yeah, I want to let Armin say something.
Sorry.
Can I just add something to what Forrest said, Carlos? Yeah. Because I don't know. So first, I just want to mention that. So Forrest is very brave and he's willing to pay a high price for his activism, but not everybody has to pay that price. You could be anti-theist and not talk about it. Like when we say somebody is anti-theist, they could, if they don't want to pay the price, and if they're not comfortable, or if they're living in conditions, being an anti-theist just means that you have certain views. It doesn't necessarily come with you being outspoken about it. You could keep your anti-theism views to yourself if you want, or if you don't think that it's worth it in the conditions that you're in. And also, I do think the word anti-theist gives people a lot the wrong impression. I think anti-theism is what we're going for, but anti-theist just sounds nicer, because
that is a really good point.
not. Yeah, so we are not against religious people. We're against bad beliefs. We're against beliefs that don't match reality, right? So, but we don't hate the religious people themselves. We think we actually, a lot of the activism that we do against religion is for the sake of religious people, because they are the main victims of religion. And also, the reason why I think we are anti-theism is because we are against all harmful beliefs, and religion just is a big part of it. Any belief that doesn't match reality or is very far off from reality is harmful to society. So we are at war with all forms of beliefs that are harmful to society, including religion, which makes us anti-theist. But we are anti-dogma, we're anti-superstition, superstition that is not even theism as well. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we could go on and on with this, Carlos. The main thing is that beliefs inform actions, and people behave based on what they believe. Like we talked about earlier, the people who supported slavery and who still try to defend it do so because of their beliefs. Armin made a great point about that the religious are the first victims of religion, but that doesn't mean they're the last victims, because who's out here taking away LGBT rights? Who's the people out here pushing, transphobia and shitty? Who's the people out here, pushing against, trying to put prayer in schools and trying to force their beliefs on everybody else? It's all the KKK is a religious organization. Al Qaeda is a religious organization. Boko Haram is a religious organization. The Lord's Resistance Army is a religious organization. The fucking Nazis are a religious organization. So that's why I am very much outspoken about it. But I think Armin also touched on two really important things, which is you don't have to be as loud and obnoxious as I am. And also being anti-theism doesn't mean that you're anti-theist person. Like, I have no problem with people unless they're evil people. But I don't hate people. I hate religions. There's two things in this world that I have a problem with: religions, all kinds, breath. All kinds. You can get rid of those two things, the world would be a better place.
Armin, I want to thank you for what you said. I think what you touched upon was very eloquent, and I thank you for your input. Of course, Forrest as well. I also try to be outspoken about my views about these topics and other topics that also I'm passionate about. So that's why I guess that's where the fear stems from. I wanted to ask a quick question for us, if that's okay, and Armin as well. Recently I was discussing these topics with my best friend, and when I was approaching him with the idea of me not just being an atheist but also being an anti-theist, I made a quick reference to the Bible and just taking him through. He's obviously a theist. I was trying to bring an analogy of how the Bible accepts a lot of things that we in society today recognize that are evil, such as the example of slavery that was discussed earlier. And I don't know if it was a straw man or something from him, or maybe I was not clear with how he represented what I was trying to say, but he told me something along the lines of, okay, so if you have a book and there's some bad stuff in the book, but there's also some good stuff in the book, you're going to dismiss the book entirely. He brought an example of Lord of the Rings. I can't really speak much about Lord of the Rings, but I really don't know anything about it. But he was like, there's some evil stuff going on around in Lord of the Rings, but there's also a lot of significance. There's also a lot of good examples. So would you just dismiss it entirely? And it baffled me for a second. I think, and I've been thinking about it a lot. So I was like, okay, so how do I navigate that? How do I navigate this thought of there might be some good stuff in the Bible? And I've been reading the Skeptic's Bible, and I see that it also has a category for good stuff as it's written down. So I guess I wanted to take your guys your input in that, if that's okay.
Sure. Armin, go first.
Yeah, I mean, if the book is being introduced as a compass to find, to guide people, then the good parts actually makes it worth, because make it more dangerous, because it sells the entire package, right? Mm-hmm. If we have books that do not claim that they come from God or have been inspired by God, there's no problem in reading it and be like, okay, this part I agree with and this part I don't agree with. But because these books claim that they are a compass, a moral guide for all people at all time, then if it has evil parts, harmful parts, and good parts, the good parts are actually makes it a more dangerous book, because they use it as a marketing tactic, as a PR, as a sugar coating around a poison pill, so that you accept the entire package. These books, because they come with a claim that they come from a divine source, they come as a package. You can't pick or choose. And if you are picking and choosing, then you are using a different compass other than the book itself to judge whether a message is good or moral or not moral. And you have to acknowledge what that other tool is, because the tool that you're basically using to figure out which part of the Bible or which part of the Quran is good, if it's coming from a source, from a guideline, from your own conscience, or anything else that is outside of the book, then by going out and telling people, you're in an environment where a lot of people consider these books to be the compasses themselves, the tools themselves, as a way to evaluate what's good or wrong. If you come and say that these books have values, you're basically doing the marketing scheme. You're basically doing the PR work in an environment, in a society where all that harmful package that comes with these guidelines is being pushed on people, and you're giving these books more credibility and more authority. So if you find a message in the Bible that you think like this part is good, you have to make sure that you say that in a context that you don't think that it's because the religion is good or because this book is a good moral. For example, one verse in the Bible that I think that I'm okay with is you shall know them from the fruits of their labor. That makes sense to me. That's actually a verse that I use against the Bible, against religion itself, because I see the fruits of their labor and it's horrible, right? So but also realize that religion would have been much less dangerous if it was purely evil. If the Quran did not have a single good advice, which is almost impossible, that would be a bigger miracle than anything we've seen in the Quran. Any book that long at random is going to hit at some good advice at some point. But if the Quran was purely evil and you could not have found anything in it that was good, or if the Bible, if you looked hard and you could not find a single good message, then these harmful ideologies would not survive. They would not survive one generation. They need those random feel-good messages in there. So I see that as a bug, not a feature of these religions, of these books. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah, that's a broken clock is right twice a day. So yeah, it's just you don't need all the baggage. You don't need all the baggage that comes with this religion. And if Hitler said 2 + 2 is 4, he's right. But also the rest of it is a problem. So yeah.
Oh, that's another good point, Forrest. These are the so-called good parts of the Bible or the Quran are available from other sources in much more detail and nuanced ways, even before the Bible and the Quran was written. If you just go if you could see, like, oh, this part of the Quran is the Bible is good. It says, "Do not steal, do not kill," but that is so stupid. That's so simple. That's so that's so basic. If you just go read like hundreds of years before the Bible, these parts were written. If you just go look at ancient Greek philosophy or ancient or Roman mythology, you could see that people were discussing ethics, not always accurate, like not that we agree with everything that they're saying, but they were discussing what is moral and what is right in much more nuanced and detailed ways, with reason, not with like, oh, this is because God said so, God that stealing is bad or killing is bad. They actually had a reason for it. They actually had something to back it up. So it's so insane, I think, for people to suggest that we need the Bible because it has some good parts, as if we could not have gotten those messages or those teachings from any other way. Not only that, we got it from better sources, in better and with much more detail and much more better reasoning behind it from other sources.
I love the Christian idea that humans have been around for 200,000 years, and we were just all murdering and raping and stealing and all these things, and then all of the sudden, just suddenly in 2,000 years ago, we figured, oh shit, guys, stealing might be bad. Oh, let's not do that anymore. That was the only way we could do it. Oh my gosh. I think Christopher Hitchens gave that idea that for thousands and thousands of years, people are doing all these hideous things, and God watches with folded arms, just, oh, what are you going to do? Oh, look, they're killing the babies again. Oh man, I guess this is whatever. And then finally, 2,000 years ago, he's like, I've got a solution. I'm going to sacrifice myself. I'm going to impregnate a virgin so she can give birth to the physical embodiment of me, so I can have myself tortured and sacrificed to me, so that I can make a loophole in the rules that I made. And I'm going to do this right here in the middle of Palestine. I'm not going to go to any of the cultures that can already read, or the cultures that are going to do math. I'm going to go to these goat herders in the middle of the desert. These are the ones here that I'm going to do this horrible, barbaric, freaking human sacrifice. And if that doesn't change their minds, I don't know what else to do. Like, what is this? It's madness, dude. Anyway,
it's amazing because, right.
Yeah, I'm just saying we've got to move on to that. We've only got a little bit of time left, and I've got full lines, so we can only take one more. But thank you so much, Carlos, for calling in and letting us ramble at you.
All right.